As President Trump stands by his defense secretary, the president's also defending U.S. strikes on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean. The president in the Oval Office this afternoon saying this is war with Venezuela, referring to drugs coming from Venezuela into the U.S. Let's bring in former U.S. Ambassador to Venezuela, James Story. Ambassador, great to have you. Let's talk about President Trump's comments today saying the U.S. could launch attacks on land in Venezuela very soon. How imminent do you see that threat from President Trump?
I think that this is something that's going to happen in the course of the next few days or possible weeks. The resources we have in the Caribbean, you can't leave there ad infinitum. So I imagine the president's going to have to take an action soon. Frankly, I think a few weeks ago I said within 30 days. We're coming up on that time now. What that action looks like, I think we're all speculating what type of action he may take. It could be anything from a directed action towards clandestine airfield in Venezuela, maybe the FARC-D or ELN encampment, for instance, or something more targeted towards the Cartel of the Suns, the affiliated narco-terrorist organization that operates within the Venezuelan military.
You have a lot of experience dealing with this on the diplomatic side. How do you think Venezuela would respond to a strike like that on land?
I mean, it depends on how it's laid out. And the thing that I think is crucial to keep in consideration here is that any attack that would destroy the military or the military capability of Venezuela is one I'd be cautious of. And why is that? In a transition scenario, when Maduro leaves power, this is a failed state riddled with illegal armed groups and foreign terrorist organizations. The Cartel of the Suns, the Tren de Aragua, FARC, ELN, Hezbollah. So you're dealing with a territory that's absolutely full of these organizations. You're going to need the military through a transition and then a new democratic Venezuela to provide a modicum of stability and security for the people of Venezuela. The reactions, I think, of the Venezuelan people, I think we should go back and have a discussion about what transpired in July of last year, when the vast majority of Venezuelans went out in elections that weren't even free and fair and voted Maduro out of office, yet he clings to power.
Right, and continues to insist that he should be in power despite those elections. At the same time of this sort of escalating rhetoric from the U.S., from the president, you have Venezuela agreeing to accept more flights carrying migrants deported from the U.S. Does that signal it to you that there is maybe some sort of negotiating happening here between Trump and Maduro? Maybe this wouldn't escalate further?
Well, if you were to believe the phone call that took place between President Trump, and the titular head of Venezuela, Maduro, he indicated a willingness to step down with certain conditions. So the idea here that Maduro would negotiate only means that he wants to engage in conversation to maintain himself in power for as long as he possibly can, and to ensure that his status after leaving office, he won't end up in jail or sent extradited to the United States. I mean, this is kind of how he does. I think Secretary Rubio laid out that why would you ever believe a man who has broken his word in every negotiation that the Democratic opposition of Venezuela engaged in with him? I mean, there's 4 or 5 different instances in which there was a plan and he lied and broke his word, broke his promise. So would he like to engage? Sure. Maduro wants to engage, as long as that engagement is about how he clings to power. I think if the president, our president, decides to engage Maduro, the starting line of this has to be, okay, here's how you leave the country. And then here's how the negotiation, therefore, is over. How do we reinstitutionalize the country? How do we build back the democracy in the country? What does that transition look like? I think that's the proper way to go about negotiating with Nicolas Maduro.
Much to watch in the days and weeks ahead, as you say. Look forward to talking to you again soon. James Story, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.